off. I try to stay away from this, but I can't. So I mean, all day, like I've been off fucking X because I've been just seeing little things and people starting to put their fucking reviews and shit up. It's like shit. I gotta watch this before I fucking get lost in the sauce. Let's go.
The others, they would take you to the tower. They're behind us. This ends here.
You hold our future in your hands. Take with you my blessings and the hope of the Empire. Find him and close shut the jaws of Oblivion.
Here we are 20 years later.
They love doing these fucking things, bro, and they're always so good. But there's a studio's office that always looks so fucking good. And so nostalgic, because I remember when they started doing this shit for fucking Fallout 4. It gets me every fucking time.
When you think about the Elder Scrolls, to us it goes beyond game franchise.
Yeah, it's the DNA of Bethesda Game Studios.
Obviously, we're working on the 6th chapter here, but what's great about the Elder Scrolls is being able to look back at all of the chapters, Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, Daggerfall, Arena, and each of them try to define role-playing games and open-world games for their generation.
Fans got so connected with the worlds we've made and these stories we're telling, and it's really amazing.
Oblivion was a real defining moment in the series and for how we make games as a studio. I think when it comes to a remaster, we want people to feel the way they did then, but it's still a game of its time. You want to keep those bones in place. You want...
You know, I played very little, very, very, very little of Oblivion, because I couldn't get into the way it fucking looked back in the day. And that was after I played Fallout 3. But what I really liked about Oblivion was the jumping thing. Once I found out you could like level up your jumping skill by like fall damage and jump height by just jumping around all the fucking time, dog. By the time I got out of that cell and into the real world, I was flying, bro. I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. I broke the game already. This is fucking insane. It was really easy to get around. I got to the main city in like 2 seconds.
some of that old charm.
Coming back to Oblivion now with this tremendous visual update is absolutely amazing. It's the world I remember, but better.
There's so much there, both for the Elder Scrolls world and also this evolution of our games, I think is really, really important for people to take a look back at.
Yeah.
Looking back and seeing everything we've accomplished in the past 20 years and working with these people, like, it's really special.
Yeah, there are still quite a few people that I've worked with for that long, and it sort of gave me the warm fuzzies.
Oh my God, it's been 20 years? I think the thing that gets me the most
Yeah, I feel that.
is the music. Like when you hear that music at the main menu, there's just like, there's this like flood of nostalgia.
Oblivion is the beginning.
The thing is, I'm not going to have that experience. I'm going to have a brand new... I might have that feeling in the cell. But after I leave the cell, I think I'm never going to have that feeling again. Which is great. It'd be a brand new experience for me. And I'll probably have whatever DLCs and shit too. Ooh, I'm going to have to fucking stream that shit.
Who I am as an individual, as a game developer, it all starts with this.
I don't even think it took me till release to realize how big this was.
People loved it. Like, they loved it.
Such a key moment in our history of making games and the evolution of how we build these worlds, and having players be able to come back and experience that is really amazing. We had that really special moment of coming out into the world for the first time, what that meant to this game.
Every time we think about Oblivion, it's, what if we could give that moment to everybody again?
I was born 87 years ago. For 65 years, I've ruled as Tamriel's emperor.
Oh, wow.
But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams.
Oh, wow.
I have seen the gates of Oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see.
I know that was like a cutscene, but that looked really good for a fucking Bethesda game. Okay.
Whether you're reliving these moments or experiencing them for the first time, the world of Oblivion Remastered immediately looks and feels incredible.
It does.
When we decided to remaster Oblivion, we were really picky about finding the right partner. From the very beginning of this project, we had one rule. We weren't going to do this if we weren't going to be able to do it right. Our partners at Virtuous went above and beyond to bring our vision to life. The care and love they've poured into the Oblivion Remaster has been absolutely breathtaking.
Love
welcome
to hear that.
Paris, and welcome to Virtuous. Our team here has been hard at work delivering the best remastered Oblivion experience possible. We've worked with Bethesda Game Studios on other projects in the past, so we know what makes that team and their games special.
We wanted to make the remaster more friendly to gamers with modern hardware. This is Oblivion in its most complete form.
I would hope so. It looks fantastic.
About time someone got here.
It looks like a Valve's teaser trailer.
Huzzah!
Those familiar with only some Elder Scrolls lore will now be able to experience the events that set the stage for Skyrim. You embark on an epic journey to stop the Mythic Dawn cult.
The time of cleansing draws nigh.
From unleashing the Daedric Prince of Destruction.
What was the Oblivion Crisis? What happened to the previous Emperor of Cyrodiil? Why are there only 8 divines instead of 9? In addition to the core game, the remaster contains all add-ons, including story expansions, Shivering Isles, and Knights of the Nine, so you get the full experience.
Yeah, we gotta get that.
On a personal level, it was really important to me to ensure that we're preserving the magic of the original experience. At the end of the day, we're all fans too.
This is a dream project for me, right? I'm a fan. I have been always a fan.
Well, I played Oblivion for perhaps 10,000 hours.
Oblivion was my first Elder Scrolls game, and it was one of the games that made me want to be a game developer.
The best way to describe it would be to call it a love letter.
You will find your own path, but there will be blood and death before the end.
Yeah, so good.
The technology we used to create the original was cutting edge at the time, but tools have come a long way since then.
The original Oblivion is still the heart and soul of the remaster, but we use Unreal Engine 5 to help achieve all our visual goals. We think of the Oblivion game engine as the brain and Unreal 5 as the body. The brain drives all the world logic and gameplay, and the body brings to life the experience that players have loved for almost 20 years.
But it's not just about pure fidelity.
So, can we port Starfield to Unreal 5?
We knew we had to preserve the distinct style, making it as uniquely Oblivion as possible.
The brush opens a portal into the painting. You're stuck here like I am.
The Isles, a wonderful place. Good for a visit. Or eternity.
We've leveraged nearly every major feature from the latest version of Unreal 5.
Our goal was to push the visuals to the next level using the latest technologies. We created brand new, highly detailed character models and stunning landscapes that use millions of polygons in each asset, allowing us a truly impressive level of detail in the world.
Yeah, that is insane for a fucking
asset in
Bethesda
this game
game.
was completely redesigned and handcrafted from scratch. We implemented an advanced real-time lighting system that accurately simulates how light interacts with the environment. This results in more realistic lighting and atmospheric effects. While the original game had limited dynamic shadows, now the entire world reacts naturally to light. We used an incredible new lip sync technology that really enhanced performance in our characters.
He left us a warning. Heed it!
Unreal tools helped us create the base mesh of our characters. From there, our artists sculpt each race individually to adapt it to the mesh, allowing us to share the model, rig, and textures. As a result, all races, including Argonians, Orcs, and Khajiits, are built on the same base mesh, making the lip sync system more effective even when the characters have very different facial features.
Welcome to the guild.
That's
We have access to so many modern rendering features. You'll see them in something as simple as running through a forest.
Really good
Insects
Argonian
flying
mouth
around,
movement.
fish swimming in the water, light filtering through the leaves. Thanks to these technological advances, you feel even more immersed in this living, breathing world. You'll really believe you're in Cyrodiil.
I believe you can handle a more complicated assignment. I would like you to retrieve a carved panel from the central chamber of the High Fane.
I thought you fell.
It's not just visuals that we've modernized in the remaster. It's gameplay.
It feels pretty Avowed
It's
too.
UI
doesn't it?
and UX. It's audio. We've updated features and systems across the board.
We've changed the approach to leveling, which I think will make a lot of people happy. It's inspired by the leveling systems of both Oblivion and Skyrim, so it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, this feels like what Avowed's
They
teaser
were
trailer
able
was.
to fully recreate the character models, creating a physicality that feels more human. You see that in places like combat animations, where there's a lot more separation between the upper and lower body, and all the animations have more flourish. Combat in the original Oblivion didn't have sound effects, visual effects, or hit reactions. Now you'll get blood splatters, sparks, and controller feedback. We know it's a little thing, but little things add up to make the combat more modern and engaging.
God, I love the fucking
There's a
Bethesda
proper
ragdoll.
third-person perspective now. The original had third person, but there was no crosshair, and we felt the experience could be modernized. One of our goals was to have a third-person view that compared to Starfield in terms of playability. Now, the third-person perspective has all the same control you get from the first-person view.
You have my ear, citizen.
When Oblivion first launched,
Greetings. How goes it? How are you?
disk storage limits meant we couldn't have unique voiceovers for all the races. So we've gone back and recorded new lines of dialogue. Each race represented in the game now sounds unique.
That's beautiful. I love that.
We also made sure to keep in all of the quirkier dialogue.
One thing that really bothered me about Baldur's Gate 3 was that dragon lady in Worm's Reach, that weapons dealer across from the church or the fucking carnival, either one of them. She has a very, very human voice, and it threw me the fuck off when I first talked to her.
I really like the way they say hello. Sometimes it's so random, and then they just, hi there.
Hi there.
But it's like so nice and creepy at the same time.
Stop! You violated the law.
Stop! You violated the law.
Stop, criminal scum!
Stop right there, criminal scum.
Cheese for everyone.
Cheese for everyone!
Yes, definitely. Hey, Shigora, I was right.
We are going to steal one of the Elder Scrolls from the Imperial Palace. You need to find the reading room. The blind priests will deliver a scroll to you there. Do not speak to the priests. They're blindfolded. I've chosen you because you are the best. Good luck.
Stop! You violated the law. Your stolen goods are now forfeit. Then pay with your blood. Ha!
As games have developed over the past...
You know what? Did they overhaul the speech? I don't know what how the speech was in Oblivion. Like, were there like skill checks for speech or not? Because if not, they should have added that. 'Cause I saw the the bribe, the thing. That's basic, right? That's always there. But like, there's no other conversation to be had. Like, you can't try to persuade, like, or you can't try to like strong arm or whatever. That's interesting.
Past 20 years, players have come to expect a certain suite of tools and controls.
Like sprinting. Sprinting is an interesting one because there was such a big debate internally among our teams. Some of us were absolute purists, but ultimately, we decided it's 2025 and people are going to want to sprint.
Yep.
In fact, all of the character locomotion has been completely redone from scratch, and that has a huge impact from the very beginning of the game.
Every single updated or new feature was implemented with the player in mind. It all comes down to what makes Oblivion, Oblivion. What are those features that just immediately come to mind for players when they think of the game?
The mini-games are the mini-games. Those are so iconic to Oblivion.
Great! How's it go again?
Like lockpicking. You can put a fresh coat of paint on it, but you can't change it too much because it's part of the core experience.
Whether you're
wasn't
returning to
too big on
Serial
that one.
or you're a newcomer,
I'm going to
mini
follow
game.
you and watch you and worship the ground you walk on.
Oh
will
my
instantly feel at
god.
home.
That reminded me of the one from fucking Starfield, which is obviously the one from the original one in here. Jesus Christ, that guy.
It just feels better. We've modernized a lot, but it's still the same incredible adventure and the same carefully handcrafted world.
Well, it's about time. Do you know how long we've been waiting?
Crazy eyes. Holy shit.
Oblivion is a core part of the story of Bethesda Game Studios. None of what we're surrounded by right now would be here if we hadn't made that game and if it hadn't been the success that it was. The effort that we put into it, the sort of the love that went into it, I think that comes across on the screen.
To have worked on something that people care enough where you're in a position where you can remaster it, it's a privilege.
And now, to help introduce this game to a new generation of players, I feel so lucky.
I really think that people, when they jump back into the remaster, they're going to be shocked at just how good the game looks. The Oblivion gates look absolutely incredible, and I think they're just going to find themselves lost in the world.
I hope
Even if it's just the music, for example, just walking around for half an hour in the world, you feel something, and that's precious.
You're going back to a world that you've been to before, but it's better somehow. Like, it's an intangible thing, but it's like, it's new, it's fun, like it's exciting again.
But it's ultimately the same game.
Nice.
There's a lot of respect for
I want
what
that
was
hoodie.
before, and I think the fans will appreciate that.
I love Starfield. I can't
From
wait for
all of
Starfield
us
2.
at Bethesda Game Studios
And Virtuous,
we want to thank you for joining us today. Oblivion has a very special place in my heart, and being able to work on this remaster and bring it to a new generation of players has been an incredible experience. We were too excited to get it in your hands and didn't want to just show it off to you and then make you have to wait. The best part of my job is that I get to be the one to announce that the Oblivion remaster will be available today.
I gotta send my damn Xbox up. Fuck. That shit's not gonna run in this fucking
I was
laptop.
born 87 years ago.
That shit's not running on this laptop.
But for
Fuck.
all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams.
I'll do that tomorrow morning.
This is the 27th of last
I still gotta play
season,
fucking South of Midnight too. Fuck.
the year of Akatosh 433. These are the closing days of the Third Era and the final hours.
This is more important than South of Midnight.
Of
I'm
my
not gonna
life.
hold you. This is way more important than South of Midnight.
I have seen the gates of Oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see. This is only the beginning. Worse is yet to come.
That's really cool.
Looks clear.
The time of cleansing draws nigh.
Who now will save us from the coming darkness?
Dog, I'm gonna play all day tomorrow. I swear to God.
Here you must find your own path.
Remember the Emperor!
Find him. And close shut the jaws of Oblivion.
Yeah, I definitely gotta set that fucking Xbox up. Absolutely gotta do that. But I'm pretty sure Mr. Banana Man did a video on it, and I want to see what guys say about that. Cause he's a more tech guy. Nigga, I don't fucking care. He's a tech guy. Well, no. Hold on. I think it was on his main channel. Yeah. Yes. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back.
Yes, Mr. Banana Man. What you got for me?
To another PC port review. Today we're looking at the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered. Now this game has just been shadow dropped yesterday, and honestly people are very excited about it, but I wanted to do a real port review for you guys so you can understand exactly what's happening.
Obviously, I'm not like a PC guy, but you know, I mean, I'm fucking nerding out. I love this shit too of shit I'm interested in. Also, I'm sure he'll give like his personal thoughts on like the game and shit and how it feels and whatnot. So I want to hear for that too, Mr. Banana Man.
There are some concerns that I'm having with this game. First, notably, is the CPU usage and the 1% lows in frame rates, which do cause a bit of stutter, as well as some other things as well. So let's get started here. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that we are getting around 13 gigs of VRAM allocated and 10 gigs dedicated. If you're playing on an 8 gigabyte card or even around that area aspect in terms of VRAM, you're going to have to be putting everything down to about
No, this laptop ain't running shit, bro.
settings for texture resolution, just because of the amount of actually VRAM being used. You may have a hard time with that. The second thing is CPU utilization and core thread usage. We are going to be sitting around the 40 to 50% usage across all cores and threads. That seems like a fantastic thing, but the problem is we're getting a lot of concerns where there are some slight stutters. And these stutters do happen very quickly, and they happen mostly when you're exploring the actual world and even cities. My thing is, I think these stutters are occurring because shaders are being loaded in the background as you approach different sections of areas of either cities or the open world, and so the CPU gets loaded with that actual shader cache trying to then process it. The utilization of your GPU then begins to tank, and then of course things don't go well and you get that stutter. Now thankfully it is very quick and it is not super consistent, but the problem is it's also very inconsistent and happens quite often, which we're going to see here as well. Now, RAM allocated is around 22 gigs. RAM dedicated is around 4 gigs. So if you only have 16 gigs of RAM, you should be just fine. I want to go ahead and show you guys a small section here. The frame rate we're getting is pretty good indoors, and some things do kind of like act up. In the open world, you do get a much higher sense of having 1% lows and 0.1% lows in the much more drastic space. So if you're getting 100 average FPS in the open world, your average 1% low will be like 30 when it does stutter and then goes right back up to like the 80s. However, though, in certain dungeons and even other areas like here, you don't really get that much of a dip. In fact, you get a much better frame rate overall. And then going back into the open world, things do look a little bit better. And even the frame time graph shows that as well as Intel Present Mon here on top of that. So in dungeons and in certain locations, you're going to have a better experience overall compared to the open world, which is where you're going to be spending the majority of your time. So I want to show you guys that here. Now, when we're talking about 1% lows and actual stutters and your CPU having to handle shaders, this is where basically it kind of works out.
Ugly ass beard, bro.
Well, not in that favor, actually. As you can see, though, a stutter did occur just recently. But if you look at Intel Present Mon, you can clearly see that there was, in fact, a shader having to be loaded via the CPU, which caused a stutter to occur, which then dipped everything else. Now, it was rather quick, but the fact that this happens quite often as you're going through certain areas basically goes to show that your CPU is going to be dealing with a lot of the brunt of the force happening in this game. Even during high settings at native AA, things do get a bit difficult to run. However, though, you are still sitting at somewhat of a CPU bottleneck because merely moving everything to quality only gave us a small bit of a boost in FPS. Now, just traversing the main market area, I want to show you guys another big stutter and how things actually occur in this game and why you might experience that. We just saw that right now on the actual frame time graph, and then Intel Present Mon here shows that directly. I'll pause it for you guys so you can see it. We saw our 1% lows hit single-digit frame rates. We saw our GPU busy line separate, which means we have an actual CPU bottleneck occurring. When that blue line separates from that yellow, that means the CPU is doing all the work and the GPU is doing nothing. And then we saw the utilization of the GPU basically tank, which goes to show that, hey, there is a CPU bottleneck, which means that even moving everything to balanced doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, because the frame rate boost that we get by even lowering the resolution even further isn't that great overall. So we went from 100 FPS to 117 FPS or even 106. That's going to be a bigger issue more than anything, because honestly, you're going to be better off playing this game at native resolution than you are trying to go ahead and play this with any sort of DLSS or upscaling, because your CPU is going to be doing the majority of the work most of the time while you're playing the game. Loading in new sections, loading in any shaders, trying to stop any stuttering, even on simple high settings and nothing on ultra, these things still occur. In fact, when I took off AA altogether, I got a better frame rate overall. Now, here's really what I wanted to show you guys the most. This has really been where I've had the most concern with stutters. In fact, this is where the stutters occur repeatedly, consistently over time. As you're crossing this bridge to the next stables, you're going to be seeing that as you transition to the next zone, a lot of stutters actually happen and occur, and that's why my guess is the reason why this occurs is because of shader cache compilation and your CPU dealing with the brunt of it. You saw a small stutter there in the frame time graph, but as you continue, you can even see the stutter physically happen in the game capture. Then, with the frame time graph showing you the spikes, you can also see it directly with Intel Present Mon, where we had a CPU bottleneck directly. This game has a lot of stutters that do occur. Now, the problem is how often they're going to be occurring and if you're going to be more susceptible to that directly. In my personal opinion, though, I feel like this game is far too CPU dependent in order to actually solve the shader cache stutter issue. And what's happening is it's hindering the play style and the ability to actually enjoy the game because you're too busy worried about, am I stuttering or not? Or am I having a good experience or not? Even moving it down to native AA, we're now sitting at around 60 FPS or 67 FPS from the previous, 75 to 80. So we can clearly see that even going down from 1440p to quality mode really didn't give us the boost in FPS we were expecting and gave us a really bad experience overall with stutters still. So adding frame generation, adding any sort of upscaling doesn't solve the actual problem of what's happening on in the background during the game. But let's keep going. Because the real interesting part is that once you are in a dungeon or a specific set of caves or anything like that, I feel like the game almost loads everything before you go in, and stutters are basically almost gone. The frame time graph is far more smooth. You get a much better set of frame rate and even 1% lows and 0.1% lows compared to the open world, and things in fact are better. Now, we had a small stutter there just now, but it is honestly much easier and much simpler to deal with in this space than it is actually in the open world during exploration. The thing is, though, the frame time graph does show slight stutters here and there, but like I said, they're not as drastic or dramatic, or they don't dip to flat out 0 at some points inside these certain sections. You get a better overall experience when you are exploring caves or dungeons or etc. I'm guessing because everything is preloaded when you zone in, and then it's easier for them to do it because the space is in fact smaller.
Right.
Or it's not loading everything all at once.
Isn't that what it usually is? With like any other game? Just 'cause like this smaller area, like load and load out, just how it is. Like usually.
Doesn't mean you're going to be free of stutters, though, because even while encountering different enemies, the frame time graph does show that you are going to be experiencing slight stutters here and there. But again, they're not as dramatic as you are in the open world. And that's kind of concerning because you're going to be in the open world the majority of the time, and that's really where a lot of stuff is going to be happening directly. And I can kind of see where it's happening in the background, as this loading screen from one section to another was a bit longer than what we saw everywhere else. And that could explain why when you zone into certain places, you get that stutter. When you zone out, it kind of like comes back a little bit. So you may have a better experience overall in the first part of the game when you're in the first dungeon. When you get to the open world, you may experience those stutters as well, which is kind of concerning, and I hope they really do figure it out. Here's what I mean by that. I wanted to give the game the benefit of the doubt. So after meeting Joffrey, I basically stood outside the actual inn just to see if we would in fact get stutters, and simply just standing still while the game is just playing around me, we are in fact seeing that directly. You can see that with Intel Present Mon, where the GPU busy line separated, we had a stutter with the frame time graph, and every time you see a stutter here on this bottom left hand side, you can see the actual separation happen in real time with Intel Present Mon. Every time the utilization of the GPU tanks, that means the CPU is doing the work, which means you get a frame time stutter, and just occurs simply by standing still. This is a major issue that has to get fixed with Unreal Engine 5 that occurs so often in these kinds of games. Now, does the game run better on console? I'm not entirely sure, but even then, just moving forward, we simply get another stutter as well. We don't want to see this separation between the blue line and the red line with Intel Present Mon, because that just shows our 1% lows and our average frame rate are too far apart, which makes us have a stutter.
Like I probably like I'm not the kind of guy who likes to max out anything as much as I can in the settings and shit. Like, say for a game like Cyberpunk has a lot of settings. Like I'll take off shit like chromatic aberration, film grain, motion blur, lens flare, all that shit to make my shit run as smoothly as possible. I don't need any of it. But if I can play with it, then I'll pick and choose. Like, okay, maybe I'll have a little bit of lens flare, but still keep off chromatic aberration, shit like that. So, like, and my Series S has been fine ever since I had it. So I think, like, even with Cyberpunk, when Cyberpunk, fixed itself, it was perfectly fine.
Stutter, which makes the
game
game feel bad as well. And every time you can just see it as a straight line shot exactly when a stutter in fact happens, simply because the blue line separates from the yellow line in the GPU busy line, and that shows the CPU is trying to finish that shader cache. And we saw another one just right here. This game is very good looking. Everyone's very excited about it. I don't want to poo-poo on it too much because people are really enjoying it already. But the problem is Unreal Engine 5 has a massive issue with shader cache stutter, and it continues to be a massive resource hog for incredibly minimal gain. We're relying too much on things like upscaling, frame generation, etc., to basically band-aid our way around everything else instead of just optimizing the game properly or using other engines. CryEngine would have been a much better choice.
Yeah, I mean, like, no one even knew this game. There's a rumor, sure, but you could have kept this shit cooking for like another month. I don't think you should have said it comes out in 1 week and then just polished it up for the rest of come on, nigga, come on now. You didn't have to do that. You could have done that any time.
For this directly, seeing as Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was a phenomenal PC port. The thing is, though, even though this game will run better on higher end hardware with frame generation on and DLSS upscaling, that's not the point that we're trying to prove here. What we're trying to show is that a game should be optimized across the board, and if you spend X amount of money on a piece of hardware, you should be able to get that performance without using those specific crutches.
I agree.
Like upscaling and etc. and frame generation. That's the issue.
100%.
That's the point. I shouldn't have to spend $2,000 to get 90 FPS on a PC simply because I spent that kind of money to use every other band-aid around it. The game should be optimized far better than this, and hopefully over time it will be. But they
Hopefully,
also said the game
I'm
was
sure it
Steam
would.
Deck verified. So let's see if that's actually the case.
Ooh.
If a
Ooh.
game tells you they are Steam Deck verified, it doesn't mean it actually
I was
works
just about to
correctly
say,
or
like, I couldn't imagine it running well on the Steam Deck. I couldn't, and my imagination came to life.
that it is probably the best way to play that game. We're sitting here on low settings getting 35 FPS, and you can clearly see the stutters happening on the left-hand side. Every major spike that you see on that frame time graph, that is in fact a stutter occurring. We're seeing the CPU bottleneck that I talked about previously, as we're sitting around 80% CPU usage across all cores and threads on the Steam Deck, which really goes to show that yes, unless you have a better CPU in your PC, you're going to have a really tough time. Even if your GPU isn't the best, this is more of a CPU dependent game. The frame time graph goes all over the place, up and down with spikes everywhere, and this is merely in the opening zone. Again, Steam Deck verified does not mean the game runs the way it should while playing on the Steam Deck. We are using FSR on balanced, everything is set to low, and of course we are still getting stutters dipping into the low 20s sometimes, and then jumping into the somewhat 40s other times. Things can be kind of rocky here and there, and honestly, I don't feel like this is going to be the best way to play it, because even on a 720p screen, the amount of actual visual degradation
That was
you're
a
getting
mad popping.
on a 720p screen, the amount
That
of
bush
actual
did a fucking jump
because
scare.
even on a 720p screen, the amount of actual visual degradation that you're getting on the Steam Deck doesn't make a whole lot of
they
sense
popping
in kind
up
of the
like
performance that
fucking
you're getting as well.
rosebuds.
I would have personally liked it to be more optimized on the CPU end to have a better experience overall and lock the frame rate to 40 FPS, since the Steam Deck can do that as more of a happy medium rather than being trying to lock it to 30. I did try VSync on 30 FPS.
The fucking pop-in draw distance for the fucking bushes is like fucking going off Silent Hill fog levels, bro.
Yes, though, that also didn't help the stutters either. You're still going to be experiencing them, because the problem isn't the fact that you're getting 30 FPS. The problem is that you're getting an average 1% low and 0.1% low that is below the 30 FPS line, which causes the stutter. And even though it says 30, that's what's causing you the issue to have that bad experience while you're playing the game. As we approach the stuttering bridge on the Steam Deck, the same thing happens as well. As you can see, the frame time graph is all over the place. We're dipping into the mid 20s or even 29 FPS at some points. But here you're going to directly see an actual full-on stop to 0 FPS at some points to then go right back into the regular FPS frame rate of what we're normally getting. And that's going to be the biggest concern, that little hitch that you're getting while you're playing the game, like we saw just now. That spot where you just stop altogether because everything just tanks to 0. Honestly, though, I feel like
my eyes have been so broken to that shit because, like I said, I've been on the Series S, bro, since Cyberpunk, and I played Cyberpunk at launch, and I beat it within like a month or so. So before all the any decent patches came out, I beat that shit, bro. And that game, and I see every fucking little hitch now. Jesus Christ.
Unreal Engine 5 isn't what's best for these kinds of games, and the fact that it's being so ubiquitous in the industry doesn't really help at all. We're seeing so many times where we're getting 0 frame rate or a massive stutter because of this engine, and the optimization is a massive issue. Even though I'm very excited for this game, I feel like so much more could have been done to optimize it a little bit better, or even far better than it normally is right now. Is this the best UE5 open world game I've seen so far in terms of optimization? Sure, yeah, I guess you could say that, but that doesn't really provide a good benefit of the doubt or the kind of experience
Like it's a
you're
low
going to be
bar,
getting while
right?
you're playing. You're still going to be dealing with stutters and things along that nature.
Right.
And just for fun, I decided to put things at ultra low settings. Yeah, this is what it looks like on the lowest of the low settings.
Oh, so
you
it's
could
pretty much
possibly get
it's pretty much the original game.
in the actual options menu. Pretty much looks exactly like the original Oblivion, honestly.
Exactly.
That's maybe what happens when you try to go that low in the actual options menu. The frame time graph, in fact, does look a lot better than what we were experiencing before, though, than just on low settings, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But the thing is, the visual degradation is far too high. And
Yeah, that's
really, I feel like this is what
crazy.
you're going to be getting if you're playing on a much lower end PC on that kind of thing. The stutters you get are few and far between rather than everything else. And I think that maybe there could be some other visual settings to change to reduce stutters that are happening. But again, I don't know why you'd want to play it like this. It just kind of looks like a watercolor painting that you saw on the Xbox 360, which, hey, having an Xbox 360 in the palm of your hands is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I really feel like they could have done much better in terms of actual optimization with this engine altogether. Or even just stop using Unreal at all, honestly. The thing is, though, anything saying Steam Deck verified doesn't mean that it's actually going to run properly on the Steam Deck, and you really shouldn't be using that as a barometer for possible enjoyment of playing a game on your Steam Deck. I mostly prefer if you'd rather go to ProtonDB instead
It's like
to
a
get a
blue
better
check mark
experience
almost.
overall, or even just
Or
go
blue
ahead and
check
take a
mark
look
back
at
in
some
the day.
performance videos to see what kind of experience you're going to be getting. But hey, with all that being said, though, let me know what you guys are experiencing in this game. Let me know if you're having
I will let you know tomorrow when I set my fucking Xbox up. Great video. That's why I like him. He gets real detailed with the shit, and I'm a fucking data nerd. I love this guy. But we also gonna watch Luke Stevens because he played it. Oh, not what's a whole thing, not a whole like hour your fucking playthrough. 17 minutes. This one. So played this one because he's also a PC nerdy techie guy, and I respect his opinion as well. So I also don't mind watching this shit right now because I know like if it was gonna come out in like a month, I probably wouldn't watch this right now. But I'm playing it tomorrow, so like, and I don't know anything about it, so I really can't be spoiled with a game this big. I can't.
Revealed Oblivion Remastered, which looks like a remake and is graphically very, very stunning. I mean, some of these screenshots don't even do it justice. I'm going to show you some gameplay here in a second because I've already downloaded it and played about an hour and a half.
That's a great jacket. I love that jacket. It looks nice on you. That's very clean. Very clean. Very clean jacket.
While we were streaming. So I'm going to tell you all about it, but I do want to just say that I think the reaction to this, which has been pretty remarkable and overwhelming. I mean, people are really excited for this. I think it shows just how much people want old school Bethesda to be back. I mean, yes, we all make fun of Starfield. We all joke about it. It's easy, right? Like the jokes write themselves at this point. But ultimately, the reason why even Starfield gets the reaction that it does, even now, is because people love Bethesda Game Studios.
Yeah,
People
exactly.
love these games.
Exactly. It's a love of Bethesda that makes me love that game. If I didn't love Bethesda, I completely understand why people call that game trash. But I have so much fun in that game. I'm on like the fucking 5th rotation. I think that the last time I got the fucking the fucking constellation kids, I was like, shit, I gotta speed run this one so I can get to my fucking actual crew again. That one I did completely solo, and I understand the effect of what they were talking about before when they said not everyone's gonna be the same. That was a very lonely experience, that particular playthrough. But anyway, go on, sir. Sorry.
Games that are old and that are established and are part of their childhoods or teen years. They love these games and they just want BGS to return to form like this. And that's why I think the Oblivion Remastered release has been so exciting for so many people, because it's just pure nostalgia, but it also seems to be a really high quality release as well. And I think that that's just fun. And it's on Game Pass, so you can download it without an extra charge if you have that membership already, which is also just crazy exciting too. But let's go through what actually happened in case you missed it because you were working
The
like
best
a real
value
job
in
and
gaming.
being a responsible adult, unlike me who streamed a live reaction to it. I will say that the showcase I think was actually really well put together and presented. We streamed the whole thing, and I started by lighting the Todd Howard candle, by putting up the cardboard cutout, and wearing my Todd jacket, as one must do whenever Todd comes on screen. And the presentation was pretty straightforward. They framed it as a love letter to gamers who enjoyed Oblivion back in the day. They also made sure to stress how important Oblivion was to them, not just in a professional sense as a major game in their company's history, but also as gamers themselves, how this game made a lot of these younger developers want to get into game development to begin with. And it was also cool that they showed their partner for this project, Virtuos Games out of Paris. They showed how a lot of those devs love Oblivion and how this is a passion project and a
I was reading his fucking chat. Hold on. Tell me, does the combat still suck?
Of those devs love Oblivion and how this is a passion project and a labor of love and a dream project
absolutely.
for them to get to work on an Elder Scrolls game like this. And that always goes a long way with me when I see that the people working on something love it. I feel like that adds a certain magical spice to the recipe that you can't replicate. You can't fill that in with a bigger budget. It's why, like Hogwarts Legacy, you could tell that those devs loved Harry Potter and this was a dream project for them.
They did. They put love into fucking Hogwarts, bro. And Hogsmeade. Both those locations are absolutely fantastic. The surrounding world around it is okay. But those two places are completely worth the whole game. That shit is fantastic.
Same with this. You can tell that the devs that have been working on this love Oblivion and want to retain what's special about it. And I think that's great. They then showed a lot of really cool cinematics. They showed some
As
of the
he's about to bash the dog's brains
that
in.
previously leaked. They showed gameplay. They explained some of the technical aspects of how they've actually gone about recreating this game for modern audiences. And it's not super clear at this point, but what seems to have happened is that they got the creation engine, or at least the core bits of it for like AI, game logic, and that stuff, they got that running within Unreal Engine. And then Unreal Engine handles all the visuals and the presentation, basically. The way they phrased it in the presentation was that the creation engine is like the brains of the game, but the Unreal Engine is the body of it, which is kind of cool. And it honestly
really
makes
cool.
me wonder if they're going to take a similar approach with Elder Scrolls 6, especially if the reaction here is really, really good. I know it's probably too late to make those changes, but it does make me wonder if they're considering doing kind of a hybrid approach like that. Biggest argument against that would be that it seems
It's probably not too late to do that. Because we have this now to hold us over. There was rumors of the Fallout 3 remake coming back up again because that was leaked a couple years ago, and there's rumors coming back up again. And I imagine that to be announced or revealed at the fucking summer show. And that's a whole nother game we can get into. Like, we have some time. They got some time to fucking polish this shit up right, bro.
as though this
They
does
better.
not support mods at
They
all.
need
and
to.
it's probably because of that very complex thing they're doing, layering engines within engines. So I imagine they probably don't for Elder Scrolls 6, but still it seems like an interesting possibility at the very least. But during the presentation, people started mentioning in chat that you could actually download it already. And sure enough, we pulled up the Xbox app and it was available for download. So I started downloading it while we watched the rest of the stream. And once it ended, we waited a few more minutes. The download finished. We hit play. And then it started unpacking the files. We waited a few more minutes and then we hit play, and then it started compiling shaders, and then it was done and we were ready to go. And I gotta say, from the outset, the presentation is on point. They did a total graphical overhaul for all of the NPCs, for the character creator, for the UI, the UX, everything has seen a facelift, and I really dig it. I mean, I think it still feels like
amazing.
Oblivion, but it doesn't look like they were ashamed of it. Like it's interesting how they managed to strike that balance, and I can't really put it into words, but even some of like the NPCs or the character creator faces and defaults still have a Oblivion like flair to them. I don't know if it's just like the eye shape or spacing or what it is, but it feels like Oblivion even though it's objectively way higher fidelity. We then went through the prologue sequence, which takes you through some tight corridors, caves, and sewers. You fight some basic level rats and goblins, and then you find your way out into the open world for the first time. All this time we were testing different graphical options, which I'm going to show you here in a second, and I think that this is where
hope that jump
the
thing is still
game
in there.
is going to be most critically evaluated, because everybody like loves Oblivion. The question is, how well does it run, and is it something that people can engage with on a wide variety of systems? One thing
This
that's
is
important to
bad?
mention is that it engage with
Who the fuck? Why is this bad? Oh, which means not right. You're fine. Oh my god. You're finally awake. Heard that you reached Cyrodiil. This is bad. Oh, you're just hating. I see.
on a wide variety of systems. One thing that's important to mention is that it is Steam Deck verified. So allegedly, you
You
will
have to
be
learn
able
her-
to play
yeah.
this on your Steam Deck on low settings, which does imply at the very least that there is a good amount of scalability when it comes to
Already?
the
Fast
graphics
drop to the
settings,
city?
which is a good thing. But if you're playing on PC, you can expect to load into the game here, go into the options, and you can see that there's a lot of graphic options for you to choose from. By default, when I hit detect with my 4090 on this gaming PC, it puts everything at ultra. So if we try ultra, we'll leave ray tracing off for now, and we'll load in with DLSS set to quality, and we'll see how this looks, and perhaps most importantly, how it runs out in the open world. And here we are, actually in the game itself. Now, as you can see, our frame rates are floating right like in the 40s to 50s. This is not with any frame generation or anything turned on. We don't have anything like that cranked. This is just with those settings I just showed you turned on. And there are some ways we can get it running a little bit better out in the open world in these forested areas. For example, it seems like render resolution is a major affecting factor. If we take this all the way down to performance, hit apply, and then back out, you can see it looks a good bit worse, but the frame rate spikes into the high 80s, low 90s. So
I will take that
in Unreal
easy.
Engine game, it definitely seems like this has been optimized with DLSS and frame generation stuff in mind.
That's an easy
The other
choice.
thing is that I feel like all of the advertising materials are showcasing the game running in like really high quality lighting, specifically with ray tracing turned on. And that is where you do see a tangible difference, I will say. If I turn on Lumen hardware ray tracing and I just set it to ultra, for example, then I can hit apply. I'm going to go back up to quality because I want to showcase this in its best light, pun intended. And you can see that there's now shadows casting from the trees. It's actually darker in individual areas, but there's also some weird artifacting that happens higher up in the trees where certain areas seem way darker than they should be. So there's just some weird kind of eccentricities with it. But as we see higher up in the tree individual areas,
saw
but
it
there's
back
also
here.
some weird
I was like, oh, it's like, yeah, that's weird.
artifacting that happens higher up in the trees where certain areas seem way darker than they should be. So there's just some weird kind of eccentricities with it. But as we move and run, you can see that we're still floating in like the
Like I want to see that same frame, but like if it's not cloudy out. I feel like it being cloudy is a little bit unfair. It just happens to be that way. I'm just saying.
high 50s. And again, this is with a 4090. This is like a $1,500 graphics card, and it's struggling to maintain 60 frames in some of these angles and shots. So this is not a game I think you're going to be cranking to the max and getting really solid frame rates with. It's an Unreal Engine game, and it's heavy. It really is. Most people are probably going to be playing this on like medium settings would be my guess. And if you want to see what that looks like, if we go all the way down to quality level,
Put on
and we
Series
drop
S
it
settings.
to like medium, you're probably also turning off ray tracing, because I don't know why you'd be on medium with high ray tracing. So we're going to turn ray tracing off, and you can see you can toggle Lumen software ray tracing quality from low to high. You can't actually turn it off, which is weird. But we go back out. This is probably what you can expect to see for most people running not ridiculous overpriced hardware. And it doesn't look bad, but I just want to be clear that if you're expecting to get fidelity to the level of what you saw in the trailers, you're probably not, unless you're running like a 4090, a 4080 at 1440p, or a 50 series like 80 or 90. I just don't think you should expect too much and then get disappointed, frankly. Oh, what's this? Dynamic encounter.
Good timing.
Maybe this is where we bring up the combat discussion. So it is true that this is Oblivion through and through. It, get back here, get back here. The combat has seen an overhaul a little bit. But fundamentally, it is still Oblivion. Like the combat is still swipe, 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 you're dead. That's really what it is at the end of the day. You can still interact with like bodies and objects like this. You can still do that. That remains. But the combat, I mean, this is not, it's not even quite on the level of like Avowed. Avowed did a ton of work to overhaul melee combat for this type of game. And it's not quite on that level here. But again, it's better than the original, which is, I think, all they were really trying to do. But, you know, don't expect too much. They also have overhauled
So it can't
the
be a
third-person
Paragon?
viewpoint as well, and they said they wanted to get it as usable as it was in Starfield, which is to basically just mean that it's playable in third person. Whereas with the original Oblivion game, there wasn't a crosshair, there weren't some of these like basic a sort of assumed or mandated features you would expect in games nowadays. And they have overhauled it. It does work better than the original, but it's really weird. Like, I don't know how to frame it other than the animations just feel kind of weird when you're running and you're sprinting and trying to fight in third person. So I don't know how usable it is, frankly. But again, it's better than it was, but that also is not saying a whole lot. But at the end of the day, I think what they were really trying to do, as I pick all of these tomatoes, I think they were just trying to introduce this game to a new audience, which was frankly needed. And this broke the brains of some of the people on stream today, but I'll stress it again. Oblivion came out close to 20 years ago, okay? You're probably not playing a game like this until you're like middle school at the youngest. So there are people out there who are 24, 25, 26 years old who were very young children when this game originally came out and have therefore never played it. There are also people who were born in like 2007-ish who were like 4 years old when Skyrim came out and therefore never played the game, but are now like 18 years old and maybe genuinely interested in what Elder Scrolls has to offer, but have never played it themselves.
I'm very genuinely interested in Elder Scrolls. I was genuinely interested in Oblivion back in the day. I just could not play it back then. Like, that was after Fallout 3 and after Fallout New Vegas. So I couldn't go back that far. I couldn't. Not that.
They were too young when those games came out because it's been so long. And that's something that I think is very much on top of mind for Xbox executives, for Bethesda Game Studios executives, because they know that like Elder Scrolls 6 needs to be a huge game. It needs to be like $1 billion game. And they have a whole generation of gamers who have never seen, oh, that looks good. The lighting looks good. Who have never played these games, who have never seen these games themselves. And that's, again, not lost. Who have never played these games, who have never seen these games themselves. And
I thought they just slid
not
back.
Lost on them. I think they're very, very aware of that. And I think a release like this can go a long way to introduce the franchise to that audience who's never seen it. So when we say like introduce Oblivion to a modern audience, I know a lot of us roll our eyes at that term, but it's well intentioned and I think it's a valid concern to have. Similarly, valid concerns are things like performance issues with Unreal Engine. This is one example. There's weird lighting caching issues and pop-in like that I've noticed as we've gone through it. There was also this one moment on stream where I set the quality to low to see what the game would look like on lower powered systems, and there were major graphical issues and artifacting and pop-in with lighting. I don't even know what to call this, but you can see it here. It happened even when we reloaded the game save file completely and we went to a different area. It still did it. I don't know what this is, and I don't know if this is a widespread issue or just something with my computer, but there are issues like that here. Now, to be fair, I don't think pop-in with shadows like this is going to make the game bad when it would have otherwise been good. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal, frankly, but I do want to point out that there are some eccentricities and weird behaviors when it comes to lighting and stuff like that. It's technically a Bethesda game even still, so I guess we shouldn't be too surprised. But as you can see, the lighting, especially at night, looks really good. And if we wait till morning, let's go like 13 hours. Here we are in the morning, and you can see we got some actual like God rays coming through. We've got some very delicate lighting. Ooh, I like that. Ooh, so pretty, so beautiful. Some NPCs walking around, but again, you can see like the cloth is kind of freaking out a little bit up there. So it's Oblivion. You know, there's some quirks, there's some weird behaviors, there's some NPCs glitching into rocks and stone, but that's to be expected. You know, maybe it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Exactly.
It's a charm. But listen, the game came out like all of 3-4 hours ago or whatever it was when I'm filming this. So I'm going to keep testing it. I'm going to keep seeing what it has to offer. But as of right now, I think it's doing exactly what they wanted it to do, to bring Oblivion to a new audience and to give people who played it back in the day that sort of nostalgic fix that they were hoping to get. And I think they achieved that very thing. You know, it's clunky, it's weird, it still plays kind of strangely at times, and it's got some quirks, but I think they're doing exactly what they wanted to do with it. And I got to give them credit because they almost kept this a secret, and it wasn't even really their fault that it started to leak, because originally it was the FTC filings and paperwork that was released that tipped us off.
That also released the first talks of the Fallout 3 remake, which makes me believe that's going to be next right in the summertime.
To this, but I do think that it's a solid surprise, and it's nice to have now, and it's available on Game Pass right now. You can play it on Xbox, PS5. You can play it on all those platforms. Hello.
I love dogs.
Holy shit.
Dude.
They probably call us the
oh
dog
my
people
god.
here in town.
The dog people.
Ramalis and I love dogs. We have quite a few.
Is she infected with the Joker
Sweet and
disease?
well-behaved, you wouldn't believe.
That's so funny.
Take care.
Take care. Oh, Oblivion. I will also say that I did check with people in chat, and they said that it is even optimized for like PS5 Pro. So if you were interested in playing the game on PS5, if you have a PS5 Pro, apparently it is optimized for that. I've not had the chance to test console performance at this point, but if it's anything like the PC performance, I would assume that there's just weird quirks and stuff like that, as you can see. Like what's going on there? I don't know. We move forward, it goes away. But there's just gonna be stuff like that, I think, as you go through the game, and you know, can't say I'm that surprised. But all told, I'm really glad to have this. I'm excited to go through Oblivion again, but with a fresh coat of paint, and it gets me excited at the prospect of something else that came out as part of those FTC paperwork filings and things, which is a rumored Fallout 3 remake, which
yes,
is
sir,
being done as well and should be out maybe next year or the year after. I'm not sure, but seeing them do a pretty solid job here.
Yeah, I wasn't like expecting it to be out like dropped like this in the summertime. I'm expecting it to be revealed in that Xbox showcase.
Makes me excited to see what that Fallout project could look and run like to introduce Fallout 3 to a new audience as well, because that's also a game that hasn't aged that well. So time will tell. Time will tell. But let me know in the comments if you're going to be checking out the Oblivion remake yourself, or if you are going to
absolutely
maybe hold off until you get some more technical impressions.
100%. It's free for me. I just gotta set up my fucking Xbox. But yeah, I'm gonna go do that right now actually. So if y'all want to see me fucking take over, or what was it? Close the jaws of Oblivion. Whatever the fuck it is. Y'all know what to do. Stay tuned.